Imagine sitting inside a cramped metal tube 6 miles above Europe. Below you stretches a devastated land. Above, endless blue sky. The temperature has dropped to 40 below zero. Your fingers are numb, and the oxygen you breathe comes through a flimsy mask. In front of you sits a Browning M250 caliber machine gun, your only protection. This heavy weapon fired massive rounds with immense stopping power and was the bomber crew's primary line of defense. Beside you, the thunder of 4 roaring engines shakes the fuselage of your flying fortress, a B-17. And out among the clouds, the silhouettes of German fighters suddenly flash into view. Welcome to the life of a World War II air gunner. Bombers like the American B-17 and B-24 or the British Lancaster were giants of the skies. They could carry thousands of pounds of bombs, bristling with gun positions, nose gunners, waist gunners, tail gunners, and the dreaded ball turret slung beneath the fuselage. But as formidable as they looked, these aircraft were far from invincible. Their thin aluminum skins offered little protection. A single burst of flak or a strike from a Messerschmitt could rip them apart like paper. Each crew numbered 10 men, and nearly half of them were gunners. Their mission: defend the bomber formation against swarms of German interceptors. They had to spot incoming fighters, open fire, and warn their pilots of threats. Against the fast and agile Messerschmitt Me 109 and the heavily armed Focke-Wulf FW-190, survival chances were often less than 50% per mission. These fighters usually attacked in coordinated groups, striking from the front, sides, above, or from the blind spot below. Armed with cannons and machine guns, they could set a bomber ablaze in seconds. For the gunners, this meant scanning every angle constantly while enduring relentless fire. Training was short and brutal, sometimes only a few weeks. Many of the gunners were barely 18, rushed from basic weapons training straight into combat crews. They learned to master the Browning M2, 50 caliber, the backbone of bomber defense. This heavy machine gun could fire up to 800 rounds per minute, with an effective range of over half a mile. Gunners practiced rapid reloading of ammo belts, spotting enemy silhouettes in the sky, and firing bursts from all angles. Teamwork was critical. Every man had to know his sector and respond instantly to intercom commands, weaving a seamless wall of fire around the bomber formation. But in the real world, inside a cramped ball turret or waist window, accurate shooting was an art. The aircraft shook constantly, the cold froze their fingers, and German fighters often screamed in at high speed from blind spots. Seconds meant the difference between life and death. The most dangerous job of all belonged to the ball turret gunner. Suspended beneath the bomber in a tiny plexiglass sphere barely larger than a chair, he couldn't sit upright. The entry hatch was so tight that there was no room for a parachute. His odds of surviving a direct hit were virtually zero. But he covered the vulnerable underside, where German fighters frequently attacked in climbing runs. With twin 50 caliber Brownings, he defended the belly of the plane. Ball turret gunners were often the youngest crew members, chosen because only smaller men could fit inside. They spent hours cramped in bitter cold, eyes straining to catch the faintest black speck on the horizon. Many veterans recalled days of muscle cramps after missions, haunted by the feeling they were still trapped in that glass bubble. Beyond the fighters, German flak was the greatest threat. Curtains of black smoke and steel erupted at bomber altitude. Shrapnel shredded wings, engines, and flesh alike. Many gunners confessed that flak frightened them more than fighters, because there was no defense against it. All you could do was sit there, hear the metallic rain hammering the fuselage, and pray none of it hit home. Most feared were the deep penetration raids into Germany: Berlin, Hamburg, the Ruhr Valley. Entire formations of over 1,000 bombers would take off, often escorted by fighters, but only as far as fuel allowed. Beyond that, the bombers were on their own. German interceptors attacked in waves, coming from all directions. Gunners fired until their barrels glowed red. Many never returned. The mental pressure was overwhelming. Officially, a tour of 25 missions earned you a ticket home, but few crews believed they'd survive that many. Some made it, others were killed on their very first sortie. The constant fear of burning alive or plummeting helplessly towards the earth gnawed at mind and body. Nightmares, breakdowns, and what we now call PTSD were common. Back then, they called it nervous exhaustion. Conditions aboard were brutal. Without pressurization, temperatures at altitude dropped to -40. Oxygen masks iced over, and bare skin stuck to freezing metal. A single failure of oxygen supply meant unconsciousness within seconds. The ceaseless roar of engines and the rattle of machine guns added to the strain. Many gunners reported ringing in their ears for weeks after a mission. Despite everything, the gunners fought with astonishing bravery. Stories abound of men who, though mortally wounded, kept firing to protect their crews. Some died with their fingers still locked on the trigger. Others saved their planes by shooting down attackers even as their own bomber burned. Their courage was legendary, though often overshadowed by the pilots. On the German side, there were also gunners aboard transport planes like the Junkers Ju 52, affectionately nicknamed Aunt Ju. This three-engine workhorse of the Luftwaffe served as troop carrier, supply plane, and paratroop transport. First flown in the 1930s, it played a key role during the 1940 invasion of France and the 1941 airborne assault on Crete, where many Ju 52s came under withering ground fire. The gunners often manned improvised positions at open doors or windows, armed with MG-15s or MG-34s. Their visibility was limited, and protection was practically non-existent. No armor, little cover, and the constant danger of Allied fighters. They had only seconds to react to strafing runs or to ground fire during risky landings on rough airstrips. A single burst from an Allied machine gun could cripple a Ju 52, yet under heavy fire they delivered hundreds of troops and tons of supplies. Veterans recalled feeling like they were sitting in a flying bullseye. The Ju 52 was slow and clumsy, almost defenseless against modern fighters. The determination of its gunners, firing doggedly despite impossible odds, was often the only thing that saved their crews. Their losses were staggering. Entire squadrons sometimes returned only half strength, but their contribution was decisive. Without gunners, the great Allied bombing campaigns against Germany would not have been possible. They held off enemy fighters, protected their comrades, and paved the way for Allied ground forces. The air gunners of World War II in Europe had one of the most dangerous jobs of the war. Cramped in tight metal compartments, with little protection from cold or bullets, they faced death every single day. Their courage, sacrifice, and endurance made them heroes, and their stories deserve to be remembered.